You ever wonder what an ancient story, a really ancient story, about a king's nightmare could possibly teach us about strategy and leadership today? Well, as it turns out, a whole lot. Today we're going to break down one of the most incredible turnarounds in history. It's a story all about foresight, planning, and a wild rise to power that literally saved an entire nation from collapsing. Okay, let's get right into it. So it all kicks off with this really strange and frankly terrifying image. Just try to put yourself in his shoes. You're the most powerful man in a known world, and you wake up from a dream where the weak and the sickly don't just defeat the strong, they devour them. They eat them whole. All right, so the scene is ancient Egypt. Pharaoh, the ruler of this massive, powerful kingdom, has a dream that just shakes him to his core. His spirit is deeply troubled, and you know how it is. When the king can't sleep, nobody gets to rest. And here's the thing, it wasn't just one dream, it was two, and they were like mirror images of each other. First, he sees 7 big, healthy-looking cows getting eaten up by 7 skinny, sickly ones. He wakes up, totally freaked out, falls back asleep, and then dreams that 7 beautiful, plump ears of corn are swallowed up by 7 withered, dried-out ears. The message here seems pretty clear, right? Abundance is being totally annihilated by decay. So Pharaoh does what you'd expect. He calls in the experts. All the magicians, all the wise men, the absolute best minds in Egypt are brought in. He lays out the dreams for them, and then crickets. Nothing. Not a single one of them has a clue what it means. And now, the crisis is getting even bigger. So just when it seems like they've hit a total dead end, someone has a little flashback. The chief butler suddenly remembers this young Hebrew guy he met back in prison, a guy who had this unbelievable gift for interpreting dreams. And his name was Joseph. And the scene here is just so incredibly dramatic, you can just picture it. One minute, Joseph is a nobody, rotting away in a dungeon. The very next, he's being rushed out, he's getting a shave, he's thrown into some clean clothes, and then boom, he's standing in front of the most powerful man on the planet. Talk about a serious case of whiplash. So Pharaoh tells him, hey, I heard you can interpret dreams. And Joseph's answer is just, wow. He shows this incredible humility. He immediately says, this isn't me, God. He's the one who's going to give you the answer. He takes zero credit for himself. And this is the moment the whole story pivots. It goes from being about some spooky dream to a full-on masterclass in crisis management. See, Joseph doesn't just say, here's what your dream means. No, he lays out a detailed, step-by-step, totally actionable plan to deal with what's coming. Joseph's first piece of brilliance is this. He tells Pharaoh, look, these aren't 2 different dreams. They're one single message, just repeated to make sure you get it. He says God is literally showing you, plain as day, exactly what he's about to do. And here it is, the prophecy in black and white. Those 7 healthy cows and fat ears of corn, they represent 7 years of unbelievable, off-the-charts abundance. But they're going to be followed by 7 years of a famine so brutal, so all-consuming, that it will make everyone completely forget the good times ever even happened. But Joseph doesn't stop there. He lays out a plan that is pure strategic genius. It's a perfect blueprint for survival. First, he says, you gotta appoint a smart leader to oversee the whole thing. Second, you implement a nationwide tax, collect 20% of all the food during those good years. Third, you create a logistics network to store all that grain in cities everywhere. And fourth, you use that stockpile to get the country through the famine. It's practical, it's logical, it's just brilliant. Now, you'd think Pharaoh might want to think it over, right? Nope. His reaction is immediate. He's not just impressed by the interpretation, he's absolutely floored by the wisdom of the plan, and, more importantly, the man who came up with it. Pharaoh literally turns to his own officials and says, can we find anyone else like this guy? A man who has the Spirit of God in him? And then he looks right at Joseph and says, there is no one as discerning and wise as you are. He saw that Joseph wasn't just the interpreter, he was the wise leader the plan called for. And Joseph's promotion is no joke. Pharaoh gives him his own signet ring. That's like having the password to the whole kingdom. He gets the finest clothes, a gold chain, control of the number 2 royal chariot. He basically makes him the CEO of Egypt, second in command to Pharaoh himself. And get this, how old was Joseph when all this unbelievable responsibility was dropped on his shoulders? He was 30. Just 30 years old. In a single day, he went from prisoner to prime minister. It's just incredible.
So Joseph gets the job, and he doesn't waste a single second. The plan goes into motion immediately. For the next 7 years, he's in charge of collecting and storing grain from one end of the country to the other.
And the sheer scale of this operation, it's almost impossible to imagine. The text says he gathered up so much grain, it was like the sand of the sea. They collected so much that they eventually just gave up trying to count it all. This was a colossal, nation-saving stockpile. And then, just like clockwork, the 7 good years came to an end. The abundance dried up and the 7 years of famine kicked in, exactly as Joseph had foretold. Every single part of the prophecy came true.
And the result of all that planning? It was just breathtaking. This wasn't just a local problem. The famine hit all lands. It was a global crisis. But because of Joseph's foresight, because of his strategy, Egypt was the one place on earth that still had bread. So when the crisis hit its peak, Joseph just swung open the doors to the storehouses. He didn't just feed the entire nation of Egypt. He was able to sell grain to people from all the neighboring countries who were flocking there to survive. The plan didn't just prevent a disaster. It turned Egypt into the economic superpower of the ancient world.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question to think about. The story is famous for the prophecy, for predicting the future, but maybe the real lesson is in the execution, the hard work. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. Which is the greater miracle? Being able to see a crisis coming, or having the wisdom and the discipline to actually prepare for it?